relation to another feature, or we can find the largest or smallest position of said tooth. So we can always make sure that we're finding the correct starting position. A lot of the gears that we've measured currently, we will measure, say, a slot, and the slot will be related to the orientation of the gear. So we'd use that slot and then refer to the starting position, say be 20 degrees or 30 degrees from that position. So in answer to that question from the Genoptic side of things, I would say yes. And I can imagine that Maria will say a very similar thing in relation to the SenseFar, because we can control the orientation of where the part is.
Yes, exactly. Thanks to the different axes that the system has, we can place the sample so we can start the measurement in the proper position. Yeah, as Harry was saying.
So moving on to question 2, is there a way to calculate tooth-to-tooth error and total composite error? So the way on the Genoptic system that we would accommodate for this is we would measure lowercase fp and uppercase fp. If that's slightly different to how you would perceive it, I would recommend we looked at the profile or external profile measurement. So where we're taking the contour, we could fit that as a rotational fit. So if you wanted to look specifically at different parameters, we could refer it back to that. But I think that the FP or the 2 FPs should cover that measurement in theory. All right. And I think from Mariah's side of things, again, it would be the exporting of the point cloud, and then the analysis for that specific measurement that would be required would probably be post-processed in another data software. I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good start. Going on to question 3. In either system, can the number of teeth being inspected be reduced, e.g. every 5th tooth, to save cycle time? So speaking from the Genoptic side of things, we tend to measure all of the teeth purely because of some of the characteristics that we would need to output are related to all of the teeth, but we can, if needed, reduce the number of teeth measured to be able to output to a lesser cycle time. We also have the benefit of being able to change the speed of measurement. So if we needed to, we could use like a slightly larger ball and run at a slightly faster speed to be able to get more data, hopefully reducing that cycle time within limit. I'll leave you to answer that side from your things, Maria.
Yeah, so we have we can also increase the speed of the measurement in case you're concerned about the measurement time. Then what we can do is, if you're interested in measuring the roughness of each tooth, you can do what you were saying. That's basically measuring, do one measure every 15 degrees or every 20 degrees as you prefer. But for the full 3D, in which you need the whole form of the gear, depending on the technology you want to use, you can indeed do that, or you might need to do the full 3D. It depends on the technology.
Perfect. And in relation to Dennis's question, currently we're only able to measure FA, but what I'd like to do is I've sort of in the background been speaking to Genoptic, and I'll get over an email with some ideas as to where the software is going, and the expected date for other potential features to be measured. So expect some information from me in the next couple of days, Dennis, and I'll try and give you an overview as to going into a little bit more detail on your question. I just need a little bit of time to be able to review it and go through it, so hopefully that's okay. And then, is it possible to measure, so this is from Panchel, and it is that possible to measure the internal helical gearing profile? So again, speaking from the Genoptic side of things, as long as we have line of sight for the probe to be able to contact the surface, we should be able to measure that feature. Obviously, the limiting factor when we have a straight down stylus is the angle of the helix. So if you were to have a very steep angle, the one thing we need to consider is the position of where that's taken. I know from measuring other forms of gears, we're trying to measure the center of the helix. So we just need to consider that when we're thinking about what we can and cannot measure. So hopefully that answers that. And if there's any further info you can supply us on that so that I can see it and speak to the team, that would be very helpful.
And also from SensoFar, it's quite the same, but instead of having the probe, we have to have the space to put the lens there and focus on the surface.
Perfect. Sorry, I missed one of Barney's questions in relating to the KUKO system. Yes, effectively. So the way that the KUKO system is working is that they're using either triangulation sensors or distance sensors to be able to measure external or internal positions. So the principle being there'll be a movement stage on the and a rotary stage. So the idea is if you can fit the sensor to be able to get access to it on a cutting tool, as an example, we'd be able to build that 3D geometry. In theory, we should be able to do the same thing on the 5-axis sense file system. So it just depends on the accuracy, resolution, and time that you have to measure, which would dictate which side of systems you go for. So if you need any more information on that, Dennis, and all of the other attendees, then just let us know. Is it possible to measure the internal? Okay, so I think how far off are the joysticks on bevel gears? Oh, it's a good question. I will need to get back to you on that one, Adrian. Only reason being, I'm not sure off the top of my head. So leave that with me for a couple of days, and I will get back to you after communicating with the Genoptic team to get an understanding. If you're able to give us some information on size, tolerancing, all of that kind of stuff, just in preparation for me speaking with them, that'd be very helpful, because it means that we can be a little bit more specific on the response we give you as to when your type of part will be able to be measured. All right. And I think on the, I think that is all of the questions. So I'll give it a minute or two just to wait and see if any more questions come through. But if not, thank you ever so much for your time. Hopefully it was beneficial. I believe a recording of the video will be sent over to you in the next day or two. So yeah, any queries, let me know. All right. Doesn't look like there's any more questions. Perfect. So we'll call it there. So thanks everyone for joining, and I will hopefully speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Thanks everyone.